Dear Maya, when you're mad, listen to this because I think it's super important to not stay mad for too long because it's just a temporary feeling, just like everything, happiness, all of those things are very temporary. They come up and they go away and they come back up and sometimes they're pushed down. And I encourage you to kind of stay in that feeling until you feel that you can express it in a productive way. Sometimes it doesn't come out as productive. I can't lie and pretend that when I wasn't little, I wasn't like punching holes in walls or like throwing things or throwing a fit. Did that help me in any kind of way? Absolutely not. So I'm trying to bypass all of these mistakes. Although I know sometimes you might make it. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You're going to learn from everything you do, just like I have, just like I still am. Yesterday, I was really annoyed over the lack of responsibility that another parent had. I can't really talk for them. I can't really understand why they do, why certain people do or say certain things, but I can kind of look at it from a different perspective and realize that they didn't have the kind of parent that I did, or they're not the parent that I am. Therefore, how they learned how to handle their opinions, their auras, that's kind of on them. Whether they're in therapy, whether they're getting help other ways, that's kind of on them, and I'm not responsible for that. Do I get the negative response from how they don't know how to deal with their emotions? Yes. Do I feel like it's fair? No. But life's not fair, and sometimes we just have to kind of go through these little bouts of turbulence so we can kind of get on the other side and see that clear sky. Because as soon as this thing happened, I was so annoyed and I just felt it from the depths of my body. It just did not feel good. I felt like my whole insides were kind of scrunching up, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this person. And I kind of tried to relax because you really wanted to watch this movie with me. And I was like, okay, Megan, moment by moment, like, let's take a deep breath. It's gonna be okay. Try to be here. And I did as much as I could. It was time for you to go to bed. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of do something with these emotions and these feelings. I put you in bed and tucked you in, and I came out and I had vented to my mom a little bit. I told her the situation and kind of what happened, my response back to this person, and just kind of went through the motions of what I'm going to do now. And I told her that, I haven't designed in about a week, but I'm really going to put all of this physical energy into a new design. And recently, your dad and I were watching these videos of this guy on TikTok, and he plays a girl and a guy, and he kind of represents like a relationship. And one of his things is showing like what a woman does after she sees this man kind of give any kind of red flag. And red flag is kind of like they're talking and he's like, oh, I just broke up with my girlfriend 2 weeks ago and I'm over her. And then it's a red flag to her. So she's like, oh, I'm not going to be a rebound or whatever. And then the woman just starts saying things like the audacity, like blah, 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 blah. It's just really funny. So the word audacity has kind of been in our list of vocabulary a lot more recently. And so I was just thinking while I was creating is like, this person like has such the audacity, the person I'm angry at has such the audacity to say and do these things and not take responsibility for anything they do. They just think they're right and they think everybody's after them. And I can't teach them. I can only say, like, speak my mind. So what can I do with this bout of energy just coming from my stomach is pour it, just throw it into my computer, into my hands to just project outwards and get it off my chest, get it out of my body, put it into something physical, which is me making art. And I felt so relieved afterwards. I was listening to all this happy music and just kind of getting into the groove of designing and creating and just realizing that it's so easy to get trapped into people's moods. It's not a bad thing to have moods, to be moody, to have a bad day, but I encourage you to try to not get trapped into it. Probably one of the best things that I've learned being in New York City is that you kind of have to keep going. And that might not be something you can do in the beginning. When I moved out here, I saw people who were struggling and people I really wanted to help. but at the same time, I really needed to help myself first in order to get onto my feet, in order to figure out what I'm doing with my time and my patience in order to help other people. I think sometimes looking away from things and maybe saying, okay, sending them all of your love and best wishes and good energy is all you can do sometimes. That's completely free. Energy is very real. So when you kind of look at somebody and their direction and you're just sending them like really positive thoughts and energy, I think that's a lot more than maybe giving them money. Maybe it doesn't seem like that for them, but to you, it's just you having a way to express your emotions at the time. And I think sometimes you just have to keep walking, right? Because somebody will come up to you and they'll try to sell you maybe strawberries on the street or crackers, but you just keep going and you kind of just say, "Oh, no, thank you." And I think that's kind of how this is to an extent, is like sometimes things kind of bounce off you seamlessly and you're able to kind of walk through this sea of life, which is New York City. The second you walk outside of your door, you really don't know what's going to come in your direction. And although it can be kind of scary and overwhelming, it is just how we live right now. So navigating these currents is a lot easier when one, you're able to, not even one, all around. It's easier when you have this emotional intelligence and maturity to understand what you're going to do with the emotions that the outside world gives to you. A lot of the time, it's not because of you, right? A lot of the time, people's emotions are a product of their bad day or something that somebody had done to them. Didn't even involve you, but somehow you're in their crossfire of that emotion, and it's not okay. But once again, not everybody understands how to use those superpowers productively. And I think it is a superpower to understand and master your own emotions and energy. So that's why I think it's super important to understand where you're going to push it out into. I find that it's a lot easier to vent about it first. So, like I did earlier, I told my mom. It was nice because she validated what I was saying. She understood why I was annoyed. She understood the other side of this person, which is they just need help mentally. Then I felt like I could go on and do something else. It was great. I felt really good afterwards. I felt satisfied where I could sleep and rest peacefully. I didn't have to replay that event over and over. It was just kind of like, eh, it happened. They're annoying. Like, what's new? Let's keep going, you know? What your dad likes to say is next play, next play, next play. Because in football, once you make a mistake, you can't really dwell on that mistake because the football game is still going. And the next play just means, okay, what are we doing next? How are we handling it differently next time? Which I think is very important. That's kind of how you have to take it. As these events arise, you'll kind of figure out how you want to deal with each one differently. Because yesterday, your dad and I got on a train and we thought we saw a dead body, and everybody thought they saw a dead body. And how our bodies react seeing something like that is very different. Your dad was like, let's go. We're getting out of this train right now. Mine was, oh my God, like I wanted to go up close to them and see if they were okay. Two very different reactions. I talked to your dad because looking back at it, I was kind of laughing. I was like, you were gun ho on getting out of there. And he said, definitely. What happens if there was something poisonous and it was going to be in the air or whatever the case is? I didn't want to wait around to find out. And I was like, oh man, that's something I really didn't even think of. You know, my heart was just into, oh my gosh, how can I help this person? But then I have to kind of step back and say, I don't have any kind of medical degree. Therefore, how can I really help this person other than maybe calling the police? And so I think that leave the medical part up to somebody else and step away and do what you can do is a good thing also, especially when there's so many unknowns. And obviously looking back, hindsight is always going to be 2020. You're always going to say, oh, I could have done that. I should have done this. You just use that, you put that in your toolbox, and the next time something like that happens, God forbid, it's something that's serious, you just keep handling it how you wanted to the last time. Every situation is different, but keep going because I gotta hear about all your crazy stories, and I have to still tell you all of mine.